part of the problem is if you empower people as censors, then there's going to be some amount of bias they have, and then whoever appoints the censors is effectively in control of information. So then the idea behind community notes is, well, how do we have a consensus-driven, so it's not really censoring it, but consensus-driven approach to truth? How do we make things the least amount untrue? Like you can say, like, one can't perhaps get to pure truth, but you can aspire to be more truthful.
Where I don't agree with you is that we're waiting until Thursday to take action. We opened an inquiry in December against X and Musk, which involves a number of possible threats to the electoral process and to our societies. So we haven't waited until today to see whether there's going to be a potential live stream on Thursday to take any measures. The measures are already underway, including the way in which Mr. Musk himself may or may not be boosting his own tweets. So we've been on the case for over a year. Just to say specifically on this possible live stream, this may well become part of the ongoing inquiry into X, but we have to see first of all whether it actually takes place on Thursday and under what conditions. Thank you, Thomas.
Now, on fake news, the spread of disinformation or illegal content, or the amplification of certain narratives, this is indeed, I can confirm that this is indeed part of the current investigation against X.
We have legislation. The legislation foresees very, very concrete steps that we need to follow, and this is precisely what we're doing, that take their time, and once the investigations are concluded, we will take then the necessary action. But Thomas.
At the core of our Digital Services Act is freedom of expression. And Mr. Musk is allowed to express his personal views, his political opinions in the EU, online and offline. This is his right. Now, going back to the Digital Services Act, when you have a platform, you need to make sure that the platform operates within the legal boundaries and that the platform is not misused in such systemic risks relating, for example, to electoral processes or civic discourse. So one thing is freedom of expression expression of your own views. This is what you can do in the EU, and we have always been very clear about this. The DSA doesn't censor any type of content. You're free to express your views, but there are certain limits to that, and especially when a platform is used or misused in such a context.
We're not talking about suspending X at the moment in the Commission. As Paula has said, we are still present on X. And when it comes to the European elections, upstream of those elections, we had a number of roundtable meetings with platforms such as X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and we submitted a report after the elections, which I can send that to you off if you like. And in that report, it shows that platforms played their part in the elections.
It's indeed a little bit more complicated than that. Because today on these social media platforms, of course you know it very well, via algorithms you can boost a certain type of narrative, you can boost a certain type of content, you can shadow ban other type of content. So again, as you said, we've made the point clear that such a live stream in principle is not prohibited by the DSA. Now, how much is it or will it be boosted? This is what the Commission will be looking at. Indeed, free and fair elections are at the core of our democracies. I said it several times here. And under the Digital Services Act, very large online platforms have to analyze and mitigate potential risks coming from different areas, including risks for electoral processes and civic discourse. Now, this includes the obligation to analyze and mitigate risks deriving from any preferential treatment or visibility given to content on a given platform, including on content from Mr. Musk on his own platform. Now, the Commission has already opened formal proceedings against X in December of last year. This includes suspected breach in areas related to and the management of risks on civic discourse and electoral processes. Now, in this general context, let me maybe just add one thing, is that the Commission services together with the German digital services coordinator, so the Bundesnetzagentur, with civil society organizations, and with very large online platforms, including X, will host a roundtable on the 24th of January of this year, ahead of the German elections, to discuss risks ahead of these elections.
Part of the problem is if you empower people as censors, then there's going to be some amount of bias they have, and then whoever appoints the censors is effectively in control of information. So then the idea behind community notes is, well, how do we have a consensus-driven, so it's not really censoring it, but consensus-driven approach to truth? How do we make things the least amount untrue? Like you can say, like, one can't perhaps get to pure truth, but you can aspire to be more truthful.
I didn't say that there are no risks for the EU's technological or space sovereignty. I just said that we haven't received any information from the Italian authorities, and that once we'll receive it, and if we receive it, we will look into it. On your second question, there is no such threshold foreseen in the DSA. What we do with the DSA, and what the DSA says, is that users should have the possibility to opt out from certain recommender systems. So you as a user, if you don't want to see that live stream, you should, for example, have the possibility to do the so-called opt-out. If you don't want to follow certain type of content, to follow, for example, sports events, or if you don't want to follow political content, you should have, again, the possibility to opt out. So this is what we will be looking at on top of the algorithms for potentially boosting certain tweets. Indeed, we have sent preliminary findings in July relating to these three first suspected breaches, where we said to X that they are, according to our preliminary view, in breach of the DSA. Now X has the possibility to defend itself. We're still in that process, and I cannot prejudge now the next steps.
Thank you. Still on this subject, please.
Thank you.